This video brought to you by Morphin Network is sponsored by Rangers Convention, which is November 13th to the 15th, 2020 in Orlando, Florida. Go to rangerstoporlando.com for more info. So, Steve, it's become tradition now. How's quarantine life?
Well, I gotta say, most of the work that I do these days, at least over the past few years anyway, has been touring with Comic-Cons and stuff. So doing those big trade shows, which they require hundreds and thousands of people come together, and since that's all shut down, there's really not been a lot for me to do in that sense. So trying to find different ways to keep busy, obviously, but I'm just home a lot, which is weird, but I guess that's kind of why I do some of these type of interviews now, and do, of course, my own stream as well, that we do on Twitch and stuff. So anyway, that being said, it's been drastically different for me when it comes to this whole quarantine thing, and it looks like it's starting to open back up a little again, but who knows, because now some outbreaks are coming back out again. I just don't know what the F's going on, you know what I mean? By the way, you guys like my background?
Yeah.
I was saying this before. I really love the movie editions of the suits. They're my favorite versions. So
they were mine too. They were a bull to deal with for sure. Because they were heavy and they were not very flexible and things like that. But I mean, they were ahead of their time for a cool movie suit. You know what I mean? The only other similar type of movie armored suit like that back then was Batman, for Michael Keaton's Batman. That was about the only thing at that time that was somewhat similar, and everything since then evolved from those suits. But so the costume designer, the creator of that suit, the one who at least designed the image, Joseph Porro, he was definitely had a really cool idea when it came to that. And then the guys that made the actual suits, the guys over at the Sticks and Stones production company, they were the ones that actually made the physical suits. They did a really good job with that.
What's up, everyone? My name's Leo, aka Psycho Fox. I'm with Ryan, and we are here with the legendary Steve Cardenas.
I don't know about legendary, but you're
a legend in my book, Steve. Steve Cardenas.
Well, if you can just reach one person, I guess that's all that matters.
Well, and for those who forgot, this is aka Rocky DeSantos from My Morphin Power Rangers Seasons 2 and 3 and Power Rangers Zeo. Thank you for coming by, Steve. We greatly appreciate it. Steve, tell us about yourself.
Well, how I got into Power Rangers, is that one kind of more what you would like to know, how that all happened, what led up to that, or?
Yes.
Yeah, what led up to Power Rangers?
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah. I figure we got to start somewhere. You don't want to start with I was born on the Air Force Base in Virginia, and then when I was 5, I don't know where you want to start from. So, I'm just a kid from Texas. I grew up in Texas, and I was a martial artist. I was obsessed with kung fu movies and stuff like that. So I got into martial arts probably around 12, and I had no desires or anything to be a martial arts star or in movies or anything like that. But I was living in Dallas, and I was hanging out at a buddy's pizza shop, and they had a radio playing in the background, while we were hanging out there eating and stuff. And a commercial came on the radio, and it said, "Hey, we are looking for new Power Rangers. If you know any martial arts or gymnastics, you should come down to the local TV station and try out this weekend." And that's pretty much how it went down. You know what I mean? I heard about this commercial. My friends encouraged me to go give it a shot because they knew I did martial arts and karate and gymnastics and all that. So I just went down, and decided to see what it was all about. And I got there, and there was literally 5,000 people waiting in the parking lot to audition.
Wow.
And so the setup was much like you might see in American Idol. You know how like American Idol, everybody's like waiting outside the auditorium, and then they've got a table with 3 people sitting at it, and you come in and they give you like 30 seconds to show them what you know how to do, and that's essentially what it did. So, I ended up sitting around for like a couple hours before they finally got to me, and I had to let it be my turn. And I was, I showed them some of my stuff, and then they were like, "Okay, great, thanks a lot. We'll let you know." And they didn't let me know anything right away. And then a couple days later, they called me back, and they were like, "Hey, we liked your audition. We sent it in to the producers. They watched it on the video, and they really seemed to like it as well too. We'd like to fly you into California to meet the producers." And I was like, "Oh, wow, cool." And so that's kind of how it got started. They had a plane ticket waiting for me at the airport. I went to the airport, got my, I don't know why my thing keeps beeping. Did you guys hear that buzz? That bing? Oh, you didn't hear it. Okay, cool. All right. Anyway, yeah, as notifications come up on my email or whatever, it's going bing. So I'm hearing it in here, but I'm glad it's not interfering with what we're doing. I get to the airport, and all of a sudden that's where I meet Johnny and Karen, who were also brought in, or who were also hired, or not hired, but who also made the call back from Dallas as well. And we all flew in together, and then we went in and did our little thing, and never dreamed that they would pick us. But yeah, I mean, we were competing against some other people from different places like New York and Florida and California and wherever else they had held some auditions, and then they sort of like mixed and matched and paired us to see which ones looked the best together or whatever. And they ended up liking the 3 from Dallas, which was myself, Johnny, and Karen, and they went ahead and just and picked us. And so they were like, congratulations, you guys are the new Power Rangers, after we did our audition for them and everything. And they said, so we've got a lot of work to do. We got to start filming right away. And that means that you need to, we can't let you leave. And I'm like, okay, what about my car, and what about my clothes and all that stuff? I packed one bag for a day, They're like, you're gonna have to have your parents mail you your clothes and stuff. So Johnny and Karen had to have their cars shipped out to California, and I got my clothes sent to me in a basically like a hefty bag. And they put us up in hotels, or I shouldn't say hotels, I should say motel. They put us up in a motel for, I don't know, it must have been a few weeks that I was in a motel before I was able to get paid and get an apartment and stuff. So that was a real pain. It was not like easy, so we were living out of a suitcase in a hotel and going to work like 5:30 in the morning every day and working till like 6 in the evening. We were doing like 12-hour days all the time. So we did that straight for like a month and a half, and then they shut everything down television production wise and flew us to Sydney, Australia to do the movie. So that all happened like boom, 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 one thing right after the other. It was like I auditioned on a Saturday. Monday they called me back to say they wanted to fly me out on Tuesday. Tuesday I did my audition. Wednesday finally got hired. Couldn't go back home, so I was in, we had to stay there for the rest of the week, doing costume fittings, wardrobe fittings, things like that. And then by like that next Monday we were already starting to film again, and it was madness. I mean, it was probably one of the craziest like whirlwind times, and one of the most whirlwind thing that ever happened to me, because it was like after the movie was over and all that production was over, we went right back into filming the TV show again and doing the touring at the same time, which was like touring around the country promoting the movie and all that stuff like that, which came out a little bit later that year. And that's it.
What actually started your passion for acting? Like what?
Nothing. Like I said, I did this audition. I had no aspirations to be an actor, but a tryout came along, and I just said, F it, I'll go down and see if they like what I can do. And I just showed them some of my martial arts moves. So they hired me strictly for the martial arts. They didn't even care whether or not we could really act. I mean, they gave us a little tiny script that we read just so they could hear how our voices sounded and our faces looked. But that was it. You know what I mean? Like it was not, yeah, I mean, they said, we'll give them a bunch of one-liners. They don't need to know how to act, really. We just need to get production started right away. So they looked for people that had these skills. You know, Johnny and I were both martial artists, and Karen was a phenomenal dancer. That was her background, and a singer and stuff like that. So that's why we got hired. And then everything else was all on-the-job training. So there was no passion to get into acting or anything like that. It was just, like I said, I went to a fluke audition, and then they wouldn't let me leave. You know, and that was fine. I mean, it was cool. I mean, when you get an opportunity like that, you just run with it, you know. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't like, you know, I was doing drama in high school and I was doing all these acting classes and trying to do auditions in Texas. It was none of that, you know.
I see. Ali,
You want to be an actor. You were like, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I didn't even know what to expect. You know what I mean? Like, you know, all they said was we were looking for martial artists. I didn't know exactly what, you know, we were going to be doing. You know, I didn't know that we were going to be replacing the other Power Rangers. I thought they were just bringing some cast members in, some people that not to necessarily add to the team or augment. I mean, you know, who knows? You know, the show was still very new at that point, so who knew what direction they were taking with things? And that all being said, I didn't know what to expect, you know. So anyway,
Going back into the experience with Power Rangers, what was it like outside of filming for the help filming with the movie? What was it like going through seasons 2 and 3, like the filming process leading into Power Rangers Zeo?
Well, so yeah, after we came back from the movie, you know, we had to go right back into television production again. So it was a matter of, I don't know, there wasn't really any break at all, and we were just going nonstop. So we were already used to that routine, so it wasn't like a big change for us or anything like that. The difference is in the TV show, everything was filmed a little more fast-paced, and the movie was a little bit slower. So the props were bigger, the production was bigger, but they also filmed everything a little slower, which also sometimes can be annoying too, because the director was like, I need 20 takes of every single thing, where, you know, maybe 4 would have done, you know. And right. So doing the same thing over and over and over again was a little bit, you know, taxing. But you know, so in one sense, I like the fast pace of the production of Power Rangers and the fact that, you know, we moved things along pretty quickly, but at the same time, didn't get a lot of chances to get some of these takes right. You know what I mean? Like whatever reaction you got. So hence you see a lot of bad acting in some of the scenes, you know, whereas in the movie, it was a little bit better because we took our time, you know, so that it ended up being worth it in the end. And I was actually really happy about that. But that part was pretty much the same. We were already used to that. We had been doing it beforehand. You know, the only thing is that like somewhere in the middle of season 3, I think they were starting to tell us about how they were going to change the storyline and change the costumes and change the name of the series and stuff like that. But for me, it was like, we still going to get paid? Yeah. Okay, great. Let's keep going. You know, I mean, it didn't matter to me. I mean, you know, some people were like, oh, you know, we went from red to blue, like what a demotion. And I was like, it wasn't a demotion. I mean, I was already automatically demoted when Tommy became the White Ranger and became the leader before I ever even got on the show. It was Jason that got demoted, not me. You know what I mean? So, I mean, for me, it was like, it is what it is, you know? I mean, and I didn't want to be the leader anyway. That's what a massive responsibility. So, you know, especially for a new character coming in to carry the show like that, how could they ask me, you know, how could that be, you know, especially with veterans that have already been on the show. So it made perfect sense that the White Ranger became the leader, you know? Why wouldn't he? You know, I mean, he's the most dynamic character in Power Rangers history ever out of all 26 series that are out there now, you know?
So Steve, I would ask you this always. So what got you interested in martial arts? Like, well, yeah.
Well, a big part of it was, I mean, I did like those fascinating, like jumping kicks and flips and stuff from the Hong Kong movies that they used to show on Kung Fu Theater every Saturday afternoon. That was pretty cool. And I was, I was also kind of bullied as a kid, and because I wasn't really like very socially skilled. I was a little awkward, and so my attempts to make friends would usually just kind of piss kids off. And so how kids can be, they kind of tend to gang up, and so I used to get beat up a lot. And it was rough growing up with that, you know what I mean, having to deal with that. But I saw the movie The Karate Kid, and I started relating to, hey, there's this high school kid who's getting picked on by these bullies all the time, and he ends up learning some karate and kicking some ass and proving himself and gaining some respect, and in which case I said, oh man, I wish I could take karate, so I could kick their asses, kind of thing. And then what ended up happening was that was when I was living with my mom, and then when I was about 12, I went to go live with my dad, and then there was a martial arts studio right down the street from where I lived, and then that somehow was just sort of like serendipitous, because next thing you know, like I'm training there and I'm learning and everything like that, and then that's what occupied most of my time. Like after school, boom, I was right over to the martial arts studio, and I was spending like all my time there, and so I did a massive amount of training, probably more than most kids would do, or maybe kids would come maybe 1 or 2 times a week. I was there every single day, and I was there for like 3 or 4 hours after school every day, training and eventually like teaching, and then eventually like learning everything about martial arts business, you know what I mean? Like by the time I was in high school, I was like pretty much like running the studio, from like everything from paying the bills and making night deposits to signing the contracts for people to sign up, memberships and teaching, and I was doing everything, So yeah, I mean, I had always had a fascination with martial arts, and once I got started in martial arts, for whatever reason, I also just took to it really well, you know what I mean? Like, so I did spend a lot of time, so I did get a lot of practicing in, but it also came kind of natural to me, like the moves and stuff. Like I had been studying them for so long on all these movies I would watch, that I think I kind of like through osmosis kind of like started picking stuff up. And I used to go in my backyard and pretend like I was a ninja, and I'd go out and do my flips, and I'd do all these kicks even though I didn't think I was doing them right, so yeah, I mean, I just had like a natural ability that I didn't even know that I really had. And so that also kind of like, escalated me up the ranks and things like that. And then by the time I was 16, I got my black belt, and I was like running school full time and teaching and everything. I was teaching everyone, kids, adults, the whole thing. Yeah, so martial arts has just always been a big part of my life. And before it was Taekwondo, and now for like the past 17 years or so, it's been Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I've shifted my focus from like all the jumping, high kicks and stuff, and the aerial stuff, into more ground fighting. For me, it's just more stimulating, for the wrestling instead of like the kicks and stuff. But I can still do all that stuff, but I don't practice it as much anymore.
Going back to the Power Rangers, do you have any behind the scenes moments that you like to share from like your time on Power Rangers and Zeo and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, everybody asks that stuff, but it seems to me like, I don't know why, I don't recall as many of those fun behind the scenes moments as the other guys do. I usually end up calling on some of the ones that they recollect, but I was not really like one of the pranksters on set, didn't like messing with people, but there was others that like to do that. But I personally didn't like that, and I didn't want to be messed with, so I didn't try to like dish any of that out in hopes that, right. and in hopes that I wouldn't get it dished back out on me, you know what I mean? But I recall one time, I think I was like, just dog tired, or I was on set, but it wasn't my time to be on camera, so I actually had a couple hours to like kind of like rest a little bit. So I ended up like sleeping on a big mat, out off camera, and one of those crash mats that the stunt guys use or whatever. And I was just passed out on there, and next thing you know, I wake up and someone is like dipped their like scrotum in their butt right in my face. So I'm like, hey, what the hell? So I caught a full moon. So that was just silly stuff like that. I mean, whatever. We were all 20-year-old kids just being silly, and we're stuck together for long hours in these closed environments, like these closed sets, so one can tend to get pretty bored. And so we would find ways to entertain ourselves by pulling practical jokes on each other and stuff like that. So some were a bit more adamant about it than others. So that's kind of some of the stuff that happened to me, but I wasn't really one of the guys that was like going around trying to like pull pranks on people.
I see. So going back to your movie, so there is one scene that I actually really love. It was the part where you fight the big skeleton dinosaur. Can you tell us like the process of doing that scene?
Yeah, I mean, that was all practical effects. That was an actual like real like skeleton like dinosaur that they built like from scratch, and it was like mechanized to move around and stuff. And yeah, we were filming in some kind of weird like jungle area in Australia. I mean, obviously, when people think about Australia, they think about beaches and all that stuff like that. But when you go more inland, there's big deserts. So that's where you see a lot of that monolith stuff that we were filming. And then there was, like the jungles and the forest. There was all kinds of different environments there, which I found very interesting that I didn't expect when I went to Australia. So it was the perfect location to film everything. And that was cool. But I think that skeleton whole thing was actually really cool. I mean, like it was definitely different than, say, the what the TV show was showing and stuff like that. So everything was just on a higher scale with the movie. They had more money to make all these big props and stuff. But I said props to them for all the practical effects. I mean, there was not a lot of the only special effects were the actual Zords. And they had actually built a whole model scale city of what was Angel Grove, but it was actually downtown Sydney. They had built a scale model of that town, which they would end up like crashing Zords through and stuff. So when you saw some of that stuff in the movie, that was all practical effects. But when you saw the Zords coming together and fighting in the streets and flying around, that was all CGI.
Nice, interesting, really interesting. Plus, it was really good special effects too.
I didn't think so. If you want to know the truth, man. I mean, that was the thing. Honestly, out of the whole movie, like the things that I didn't like, the things I did not like the most about the movie was switching from a Tyrannosaurus and Red Dragon to an ape. The ape Zord was not that cool to me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't dig it that much. But whatever. I mean, it was Japanese footage. There was nothing could be done about that. We were changing the whole, that whole thing. So they needed to sell more toys. So that was that. There was nothing to control over that. But I mean, they spent so much money on the production value of like the way the command center looked and the way that all of those like, rock formations like that we do, not the rock formations, but like when we did the rock monster fighting and stuff, that was all on a closed set. That was not out in the jungle or anything like that. That was all man-made. And so these different things, they spent so much money in production, and then the Zords look so cartoony, you know what I mean? And it was not based on the special effects at that time, because if you remember the special effects from Jurassic Park, which is out a couple years before that, they were pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know why they skimped on the, maybe they just ran out of enough money to make those effects look really good, but for whatever reason I was not impressed. I mean, I look at like Transformers and Pacific Rim and all these things, and that's what a Zord should look like, you know what I mean? Like that's right. How the Zord should look. It should look more realistic, and it didn't. And part of it was the technology back then, but also it wasn't, like they had the technology to make things look a lot realer than that. So anyway, there was a couple things about the movie that I didn't like, and it was mainly more of like technical stuff and not really, so much the story or the movie itself, but just a couple of things visually that I wish they would have done better.
I do also follow up to that. Like, just that skydiving scene. Was that real practice? Really, you guys really do skydiving?
Well, the skydiving sequence is real, but it wasn't us. Like, you know, I mean, they had professional skydivers. I mean, they couldn't take a chance. I mean, it's the first scene in the movie. They can't take a chance on any of us getting hurt or killed or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it would have taken, you know, it takes hundreds of hours of jumping in order to be able to jump by yourself, and then on top of that be so good that you can do all those aerial acrobats. So even though I know how to do them on the ground and stuff, doesn't necessarily mean that would translate into the sky. Exactly. You know, when you have the fear of like falling and you know, you're disoriented in the way you move around and stuff. So they did some stuff where they hung us from wires and behind green screens, and that part was like, you know, was like special effects sort of thing. But that's when they just needed close-ups of our face and stuff. But the rest of it was just stunt guys that were actual professional skydivers that wore our same outfits and did all the stuff for us then. And you know, they were actually like really good. Same thing with the rollerbladers too. I mean, you know, I didn't know how to roll. I can't rollerblade for shit. So, you know, it's like you see some scenes in the movie where I'm like on the rollerblades and you just see me like rollerblading like Frankenstein, and the next thing you know, I'm like skating down the stairs backwards and, you know, flipping through the air and jumping with both legs up. You know, I was like, come on, that wasn't me. So we had lookalikes and stunt doubles that were, you know, doing the rollerblading for us, and they were doing, you know, the skydiving and a few of those things. They had doubles for us on that, which was smart because we can't take a chance on getting hurt, and we're already doing a lot of our own fight scenes already, and that's for them, you know, enough. It's like, so because they stand to lose a lot of money when production's on hold like that.
I do agree with the whole special effects. I'm like, wait, y'all have all that money from the toys. Take some of that money.
But I mean, I think, like I said, I think you know, 20th Century Fox was the one that put the money up for the movie. It wasn't Saban.
Right.
You know, as you probably remember, you saw Turbo. You know, the Turbo movie that was fully produced by Saban. You can see the production value difference between what you saw in Turbo to what you saw in our movie. So even though everything was shot 35 millimeter and, you know, the scale and everything, I mean, it still just didn't look the same as the big budget one. But yeah, so 20th Century Fox was the one that put up the money. So even though Power Rangers was making money off all the toys and stuff, it's a separate entity, you know? So, you know, that was, yeah, I don't think they had, you know, much say. I don't. Who knows if maybe they put some of their own money into it too. I don't know. But the one they're not connected. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the licensing for Saban is different than, you know, what the money that 20th Century Fox put up to distribute the movie.
Steve, you came back for the 25th anniversary episode of Power Rangers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With the Ninja Steel cast. Can you tell us your experience filming the 25th anniversary episode?
Well, it was fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, I had been trying for 3 years to get back on the show ever since that mega war, the mega battle one they did. They had asked me to be, they invited me to be in that one, but there was something going on at the time and I wasn't able to get to New Zealand. And when they needed me, I was, so I had to turn it down. And so for the next 3 years after that, I kept putting my name in there, saying, hey, you know, I'd like to do, you know, a reunion thing with you guys. And, you know, the first couple times they said no. And then finally on that third time, you know, they came around and they said yes. So I was like, okay, good. So I mean, I figured it was about time. And the 25th year was probably like that best time or that best option to be coming back. So I thought it worked out perfectly.
How was New Zealand?
Yeah, New Zealand, but that was new because I think I had been to the airport in New Zealand once before when I was on my way to Australia. That was my only time I'd ever been to New Zealand. So technically before we did that, I had been on New Zealand soil, but never really saw anything. So going to New Zealand, that was essentially going to New Zealand for the first time, and it was very cool. I mean, the scenery there and stuff was amazing. And then of course, you know, going back on set and being back with some of the old crew who used to work on the show 25 years ago, some of the same people are still there, which blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, there's Yuji, there's this guy, there's all these guys from Alpha Stunts are still here. Oh, there's Chip Lynn, old producer. I mean, like all the same people that I used to work with so long ago, and to see them again, and I was just like, man, that's incredible. So I was actually pretty excited about that, and it had been like, I guess, about 20 years since I had been on the set, and so to be back in front of the camera on that movie anyway, or on that show, was definitely very monumental. And I mean, I was very grateful. I even told him, I was like, I'll do it for free. I don't care about the money for it. I mean, I just really want to give back to the fans, because I'm always going to all these conventions all the time, and they all keep asking, when are you going to come back on the show? And I'm like, I don't know, and then eventually, when I finally did get asked back on the show, we had to keep it quiet. We couldn't talk about it for like a year and a half. I mean, what you saw in that season, in that reunion episode, was shot over a year and a half before it came out. So, so yeah, it wasn't like we shot it and then the next week it was all edited together and on the show, you know what I mean? So we weren't even allowed to talk about it and to tell people. So for like a year and a half going to conventions, and everybody keeps asking, hey, when are you going to be on the show? And I'm like, I don't know, and which I feel like they shouldn't have done. I feel like it would have been cool if they had let us promote it, you know what I mean? Because imagine doing, if you're doing like 35 Comic-Cons a year, and each one you're doing a panel saying, hey guys, get ready for, in a year, watch out next year and the new season, we're going to be making a comeback. Like, man, people would have flipped the F out, you know what I'm saying? So I would have been like so cool. And so I really feel like they missed an opportunity there, you know what I mean?
That I agree with you. I actually want to talk about now your new podcast show on Twitch, the Fan-Tastic Duo Show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Fan-Tastic Duo Show. Myself and like a longtime fan, who's also like a producer. He's like a producer, like television producer and internet producer. He has a company called Press Record Productions, and his name's Alex Cardoza. So Alex Cardoza is my partner on this. He is the technical guy that does all of the stuff to make the show look the way that it looks live on Twitch, and he handles all of like the technical side of it, and then I'm just the mouthpiece, you know what I mean? I just sit there and jibber jabber, and when I try to bring my friends in, and so he uses me to bring the Rangers and other people that I know from doing all these Comic-Cons and stuff into the show for cool interviews, and then he does all the technical stuff, and so I use him for that. And we're a good team; it meshes really well. And we've been doing the show now for a month, but yeah, we've been basically up on Twitch for maybe just a little less than a month, maybe. And we do it twice a week. We go on air twice a week for an hour, every Tuesday and every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time, which is probably in California time is like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we go live, but it's cool because we get viewers from all over the world. Even last week, we started this new segment where we have the fans send us video questions. You know what I mean? Like they'll record it over their phone, send it to us, and then we play it on the air and then answer their questions.
I see.
So we get the fans to get involved, and so yeah, I mean that's one of the things that we do as well, which is pretty cool. So we try to get the fans really into it as well, and of course, since it's on Twitch, there's a whole on the side there's all the comments, so we can always look at the comments and we get the fans involved that way as well too. I don't know if this live stream has that going or not. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, what's up to everybody out there that's like typing in? I can't see any of that. Anyway, hope I'm not boring you guys to death.
And for guys who guys want to find out what it looks like this. That's the Duo Show. So please follow these on Twitch.
Yes, please. Yeah. Go to Fan-Tastic Duo Show. Follow us on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, you can watch it live as it's happening. But if you subscribe to Twitch, which I think if you If you have an Amazon Prime account, they give you like one free Twitch subscription. So if you go on there, you can subscribe and basically get it for free, paid for by Amazon. But if you don't, it's only like $4 a month or something like that anyways. And with that, you get the opportunity every month we do big grand prize giveaways, which has like all kinds of like cool stuff packaged into one big giant package. And we pick one winner from our subscribers for that. So if you want to be involved in that, sign up with Twitch as well and subscribe to it. And then, like I said, you can win some other cool shit outside of the just watching the show every week and being part of that.
So, Steve, like you said before, you were not a trained actor before coming to Power Rangers. You took a leap of faith and it got you to where you are now. But
I'd say Saban was the one who took a leap of faith, not me. I was like, hey, I'm going to be on TV. Where do I sign? No problem. It wasn't a leap of faith for me. It was those guys that took a big gamble, because it could have been a huge flop. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. I take your point. So.
But do you have any advice to any inspiring actors or actresses out there that are trying to break into the game right now, whether it's on TV or on the big screen?
Sure. Well, I will say this, it's different now than it was back then, but the way that I got involved in Power Rangers, I mean, you guys heard the story earlier. I mean, it was a fluke thing that happened. Someone walks into a random audition and does some karate moves, and then next thing you know, he's getting flown to California, and then next thing you know, he's getting flown to Australia. And I mean, the only thing that I can ever think of is I was just watching a documentary of James Bond. There was one James Bond character, like before it was Sean Connery and then it was Roger Moore, and there was all these different ones, but there was one guy in between. His name was George Lazenby. Yep. And he was like this guy who just went to one audition. He was like an old car salesman and a mechanic who happened to be living in London, and he stumbles into an audition, and the next thing you know, they make him into James Bond. You know what I mean? And he was sort of a one-hit wonder though, because he had never had any experience with acting or anything like that before. So it was the same kind of thing. But anyways, it became just a little bit too much for him, and he decided he didn't want to do it. So he threw it away because he had like 6 more Bond movies set, and they were going to pay him millions of dollars to do it. And he walked away from all that. And eventually, I walked away, but the difference I would say is this, that, for people that don't have aspirations to do this, sometimes it doesn't mean the same to other people. So if you want to get into acting and be involved in that way, I think it's important that it needs to be a passion of yours. Don't just do it just for the heck of it, and just to see what happens. Like, it takes dedication, and so even once I got on the show, like, which was a fluke thing that happened. But once I got there, that's when I had to do the real work. You know what I mean? I had to start taking the acting classes and all that stuff, which I had to do off hours while I was filming and while I was traveling and stuff, so it's hard work. So be prepared to work really hard and, end up paying a lot for your craft, because you have to pay for acting classes and lessons, and you've got to pay to travel around to the auditions, and you got to just pay your dues with getting no's and no and no and no and no after no for sometimes no reason at all. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just, hey, you weren't what they were looking for. It wasn't because you weren't good looking, or it wasn't because you were a good actor, but you just didn't fit what they were looking for at that time. And you can't learn to take that personally. You have to learn not to take it personally and just keep plugging away. But when it comes to like, the audition processes and all that stuff like that, you're better off talking to people like, Azim Risk or Aaron Cahill or Brendan Mejia, these guys who, do auditioning all the time and who work outside of the Power Ranger realm all the time as well. I would feel like they would be able to give you guys some better advice in that realm. You know what I mean?
I see. So Steve, my last question is, do you have any upcoming projects or any cons that you want to stretch your fans?
Well, I even though they've kind of opened things back up a little bit, so what I've been starting to do is I've been kind of bouncing around to do small little visitations at like comic book stores and something in an area that's a little bit more contained and not as many people are allowed to come, you know what I mean? So like little small settings, these small little meet and greets I do at comic book stores. So if you follow me on Instagram at Steve Cardenas PR, I'm going to be able to give you guys updates on when I have those things going. And that's where kind of what I'm doing now from time to time to sort of stay in touch with the fans. And of course I'm doing the Twitch podcast as well. What was the other part of that question? Because you had two parts to it.
Any like projects?
Yeah, no other projects right now. If you want to see me in a horrible movie, there's a movie on Amazon right now called Beast of the Water. And it's sort of like Predator, but like a real, B-rated movie, B-rated version of it. But it's pretty fun. There's some really cool practical effects in the movie. Like the creature they created for that movie was awesome. The guy who made it was one of the winners of Face Off, the TV show where they did all the creature creating stuff, and he made the suit for this movie and directed the movie and everything like that. And all in all, it's pretty good. But you get to see me in like this Umbrella Corporation type. I work for this company that's sort of like Umbrella Corporation, and I'm one of those military dudes that walks around with the bulletproof vest and the big machine gun and the combat boots. And I'm just a total asshole in this movie. You know what I mean? Like nothing like my goody two shoes character Rocky. So I always tell people, I say, hey, if you don't mind losing an hour and a half of your life that you can never get back, spend $3 on Amazon and rent Beast of the Water and just get a laugh out of it. There's some cool parts in it, but I'll spoil it for you. It's a spoiler alert. I die horribly from the creature, so you get to watch my death scene, which in and of itself is rather entertaining as well too. Just the way that they kill me. So if you want to check it out, by all means, please check it out. And other little things here and there will come up from time to time. But like I said, if you follow me on my Instagram, you follow me, on my social media, I'll always keep you abreast on all that stuff. So I'll keep you updated on any things that I got going on.
Awesome. All right,
cool.
Guys. So this
Resident Evil. So
do say that again.
You had me at Resident Evil, so I will check it out.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's Resident Evil-esque, but only in the sense that we wore military uniforms. I mean, we're running through a jungle, you know what I mean, which is a little different than running through a chemical lab. But yeah, I mean, it's still pretty fun. It's entertaining, and there's a couple other guys. So like, if you guys are wrestling fans, EC3 from the WWE's in that movie, and so is Tyrus, who used to be Snoop Dogg's old bodyguard, but Tyrus, the big, huge wrestler guy, he's in there as well. And then we got a couple other people from different shows and stuff too. And then a lot of local actors that they got from Nashville, which were really cool as well too. Nice people. So check it out. Yeah, check it out. Like I said, it costs you $3 if you want to watch me die.
So we have some fans. I want to say hi to you.
Okay. Hi guys. What's up? Hello.
So Terrell Diggs says hi, Steve.
Okay. Hi. Who is it? Who said that?
Terrell Diggs.
Terrell Diggs?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That name sounds familiar to me. Why does that name sound familiar to me?
Kathy McCoy says you're her favorite.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Oh, look, cool. I see your face right there. Hi, Kathy. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And one of our kid viewers, or one of our child viewers, Aiden McCartney says, hey, Rocky, what's up? Hey,
Sup. It doesn't say what's up. It says sup. I'm like, it's bad when like we're just that lazy of a society now that we can't even write the words what's up. It has to just be sup. Yeah.
Lyndall Powell says, hello, Steve. It's midnight here in Middlesex. Oh, is that London?
That is in England, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Daniel Cano Garcia says, hello, Steve. How are you?
I am fantastic, Daniel. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Everett Sanchez says, do you own the Rocky Blue Lightning Zeo figure collection?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do have a couple of those. I actually had a whole bunch of them, but what I did was I basically essentially sold them to the fans at like a really big discount from what I normally go for, and shipped them out to people. So there was I had about 12 of them from my personal collection, and I gave away about 10 of them or more, just to some fans that bought in really quick. They sold out pretty fast though, obviously.
So Terrell's asking, what was your favorite episode to film, or favorite episode?
Well, there was a few actually, but quite honestly, none of them were Mighty Morphin. They were all from Zeo. Zeo just was a more fun season for me to work on. Now, if you ask me what suit I like better, like what did you like better, red or blue? I mean, my character was the same, so I was no different. The only thing that to like better is the suit. So I like the red suit better. It's more iconic. It's more recognizable. But the work I did on Zeo, to me, was more fun and more rewarding. I really feel like they gave Rocky more of a character. So there was a few ones. There was one that we did called It Came from Angel Grove, which was like a dream sequence of a Halloween episode. And I ended up playing like a werewolf, and they put all this werewolf makeup on me, and that was a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed doing that. And there was a few other ones as well too. There was one I got to be super goofy, and like I was like a runway model walking down the runway with these goofy like pants and a goofy hat on and stuff. So 90s, you know what I mean? Like I knew in the future, I'm like, this is a really horrible outfit. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna be keeping up with the times. You know what I mean? Like, so I decided it's definitely, you know, my 90s was showing in that particular one. But yeah, there was a lot of fun stuff, you know, that I was just really, really happy to be a part of when it comes to that show. You know, there was not a lot of episodes that I would say were episodes I hated. You know, I mean, I was happy to be working, and I was, you know, just try to give as much as I could to the show.
So Mikey Perez says, hope Rocky return in Dino War 2 and Dino Fury.
What is that? What is Dino War 2 and Dino Fury?
I think he's asking, like, I hope you return for the next season because it's dinosaur theme.
Oh, that's already Austin St. John. That's not a secret. I mean, it's already come out already. That reunion episode already came out with the Dino Rangers. Yeah.
No, we're talking. There's a new season of Powers called Dino Fury where they use their swords.
Oh, so after Beast Morphers is over, it's Dino Fury. Wow, man, they are like, okay, that's cool. Well, hey, like I said, I mean, they've got my information. So once it comes time for them to start production again, I'll definitely reach out to them and see if they are interested in having me back. But if it's a Dino themed one, seems like it would make sense to have me come back. We'll see.
Yeah,
you heard it here, Hasbro. Come on now.
Yeah, Hasbro, come on.
Anyway, so Dave, our good friend Dave Plobby from hey guys from Legendary Ranger Virtual Con, LOL.
What up? Virtual Ranger Con, I love it.
Let's see. What else is here? Oh, Matthew Mars. So you met the rest of the cast in Australia for the movie, and then came back to the USA to film the introduction of the characters in the series?
No. We filmed the series for about 2 months before we went to Australia to do the movie. So we got hired and we started filming the show like immediately. Like we were on set and started filming. And those were the episodes, the episodes where the Rangers were getting introduced, and then we did the power transfer and all of those episodes there. So we did probably about 2 months worth of filming, which probably worked out to like the first 10 episodes you see halfway through season 2 or whatever were all filmed before we went to go do the movie. Then right around October, because we started in July, and then right around October they shut production down for the show, and then we went to Australia to do the movie, and we filmed the movie, and then after the movie's over, we flew right back and started doing right back into the TV show again, finishing up the rest of season 2 real briefly, and then getting into season 3 and doing the whole season of season 3. So yeah, no, we were definitely in the thick of it, like right from the beginning.
I see. Miguel Ross says, greetings from Lima, Peru. Oh,
okay. What's up, buddy?
Thomas Franco said, asking, Steve, which power coin did you use during the Morph for the 25th anniversary? Was it a T-Rex power coin or a Ninja 8 power coin?
No, it was a T-Rex coin. Yeah, it's a good question, but yeah, it was the T-Rex coin. I don't think they cared much about canon, when that reunion episode, because, and you know what, and that's cool, you know what I mean? Why should they? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, the power coin was lost or destroyed, and then the ape one came around. I mean, who cares? You know what I mean? It's a TV show. They can make it up as they go along. You know what I mean? As long as they stay true to sort of like what Power Rangers is all about, then that's cool. You know what I mean? It's about teamwork. It's about sometimes relying on other people that you never would have expected and coming together as one. Which is always the major theme of Power Rangers, and which is one of the reasons why I like it so much, and which is one of the reasons why I think it endures. But who cares what coin? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I was the Red Dragon Thunder Sword, but I had the Tyrannosaurus power coin in the season 2. You know what I mean? So, like, what does it matter? It's like, it's never, not everything is like needs to be explained, I guess, if that makes sense. But I mean, I was just glad they brought me back as Red Ranger. You know what I mean? Because I get a lot of fans who are just so loyal to Jason that they just tell me that, oh, you're not the real Red Ranger. And I'm like, I did more than you as a Red Ranger. So I think I was the Red Ranger. You know what I mean? Like, and if the roles were reversed, wouldn't you want people to acknowledge that you were the Red Ranger? You know what I mean? Like, so to get a rise out of me like that, it really kind of is upsetting. They're like, oh, you're not the real Red Ranger, like that shit is like just really something that always strikes a nerve with me, because if the roles were reversed, you'd take the job in a second, and you'd be like defending yourself if people tried to tell you you were a loser because you weren't the real Red Ranger, and you're not. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff just, I don't know why, but it sticks in my craw for whatever reason, and so I feel like I have to defend it sometimes. So I'm just glad that I got that acknowledgement of getting brought back as the Red Ranger and not the Blue Zeo Ranger, because the Blue Zeo Ranger just wasn't as popular, even though it was more of a fun season for me to work on personally. When it comes to the Ranger universe, Mighty Morphin is where it's at.
You carried that mantle as the Red Ranger, so
yeah, right. I mean, you can try to say that I'm not Jason. That's one thing, and everyone would agree with you, including me. But to tell me I'm not a Red Ranger, that is not true. You know what I mean? So that, just for whatever reason, I don't know why, but that always bothers me when people do that. And I get a lot of trolls all the time that do it, and anyone that ever does, I just delete them off of my page. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't even want to make argument with you. You're just gone. Exactly. It's like, why do you follow me if you don't care about my work? I just don't understand that. You just want to troll my page. So any trolls get deleted immediately.
Stanley once said anyone could don the suit. It no matter what nationality or sex or whatever, anyone could don the suit.
As Comic-Cons prove, you get people wearing the suits all the time. Sometimes people that probably shouldn't be wearing that suit. But I'm all about empowerment. So I'm not really making fun, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes, if you want that suit, the spandex is not very forgiving. So, if you want to wear the spandex, you should probably look the part too, but whatever. I think it's great that people want to express themselves, and so, and that being said, I think it's great that we have such dedicated fans that take the time to make the costumes and stuff like that. So, I say all of that in jest, but in reality, those guys coming to Comic-Cons and dressed up as the Rangers, and showing their love and the support, to me is incredible, and I love the work and the dedication they put into making the suits and so on and so forth. So always hats off to that, and always respect.
Cody Moore, was there any thought of you being the Blue Turbo Ranger instead of Blake Foster back then?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was the plan, but after I had done the show for a couple of years, or the 2.5 seasons that we did the show, I was supposed to do the whole Turbo movie, and I was supposed to be in the Turbo season for the entire season after that. And then, as you know, everyone was going away, and then they were going to start the In-Space people. So I there was no, Blake was not even like a thought that they had. But I had some issues that I wanted to get worked out and wasn't able to get them worked out. So it was my choice to leave the show. And when I left the show, they were like, okay, well, we need to find a way to replace him. And that's when Shuki Levy got the bright idea of bringing a kid, which, it seemed pretty cool. You know what I mean? I thought it was actually a pretty cool idea. And as for me, I didn't really care who my successor was. So it didn't matter to me because I was already leaving. But they said, look, we need you to come into the movie, be part of the movie so we can tell a story about writing you out. And so I agreed to do that much of it. And then after that, I left. But that was not intentional. That came like, when we were like starting to do pre-production for the movie. There was time to renegotiate our contract. And so during that negotiation, I had a few things that I wanted to get done, and they didn't want to do some of them. So I was like, okay, well then, I've got my martial arts studios that seems to be doing okay for me right now. I didn't, I was kind of like, we had been working for like 2 years straight without a break. And, so it all kind of came together at the same time. And, in hindsight, though, I wish that I would have like stayed, for the fans and finished that last season and finished that movie, but it was something that I did unexpected. And then I wish that I hadn't done it. But either way, though, you can't take it back. But I was happy for the time that I was there.
Awesome. Okay, guys, we'll do one more.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kyle Goldfinch, Steve, as someone who lives in Sydney, I can tell you everything has changed. When you came back from convention in Sydney, did you have any chance to see some of the locations where you shot the film?
So I have been back to Australia for some conventions in the past, but I haven't been back to Sydney, so sorry. But I've heard from people that the city looks completely different. Like, for example, the monorail in the movie, my understanding is that's gone. It's all been torn down. It's not part of the skyline anymore. But the only times I've ever done any other cons in Australia were like in Brisbane and Adelaide and places like that. So I didn't make it back to Sydney, but I would love to go back for sure. So once the world opens back up again, believe me, I'll be trying to, work on getting some more conventions out in those areas for sure.
Awesome. So guys, this ends the live stream interview. Thank you, Mr. Cardenas, for being our special guest today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And Steve, where can you find you in social media?
Everyone can follow me at Steve Cardenas PR. That's where you'll find me on Instagram and Twitter both. So the PR for Power Ranger. So otherwise, just my name and then PR on the end.
Also, guys, please follow his Twitch stream. All right?
Yes, follow and you can follow on Instagram as well. Fan-Tastic Duo Show, all one word. And you can follow me there as well. We're going to post up like all the guests that we have. Like next week we have Aaron Cahill going to be on the show with us on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, most likely it might be Kat and Nakia. We'll have them on the show as well. So we're kind of doing like we've been for the whole time that we've been running that this podcast. It's been all men on the interview show with us. So we needed to get some girls in there. So we're gonna have a women's week next week, and we're gonna get female interviews. So look forward to that. Follow us on Twitch at, again, Fan-Tastic Duo Show as well. And thank you guys for again your 26 years of support, man. We really appreciate it. So thanks.
Awesome. And Leonard, where can you find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Reckless_Fox. You can follow me on my YouTube page, Reckless_Fox. And you can follow all my latest gaming content on twitch.tv/RecklessFox. And if you want more content, myself and a couple of our members here, we do a video game podcast every weekend. So go to soundcloud.com/ScrullClubGaming for more info.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. You can find me on Instagram, DancerBoy247. I post some dance videos there. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to be a dancer, so I still kind of do, but not professional anymore. And please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter on Morphin Network or Morphin Net. So guys, again, thank you so much. You, Steve, and we goodbye, Web. Bye, guys.
See y'all.
Yay.